I recently came across a Reddit thread where someone asked an interesting question. What happens if you reset the 4% rule whenever your portfolio hits an all-time high? And honestly, I've had this thought too. The idea is simple. Withdraw 4% of the portfolio, and then when the portfolio grows, you reset. You restart the 4% all over again and take out 4% of that higher portfolio amount. So let's say that in year one of retirement, you start with a $1 million portfolio. Following the 4% rule, you withdraw $40,000 in your first year of retirement. Now in year two, if the market does well and your portfolio grows by 10%, reaching $1,100,000 in value, well, why not take 4% of that new value, or $44,000? Obviously, this would be appealing because you'd get to live on more money, right? And at first, this seems logical. After all, the 4% rule says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one and then adjust each year for inflation. So why not use the same rule to withdraw 4% when your portfolio goes up? It sounds reasonable at first, but there's a catch. This approach could significantly increase the risk of depleting your portfolio. And here's why. Imagine two retirees. Retiree 1 retires in 2023 with a $1 million portfolio. He withdraws 4% or $40,000 in year one, and by 2025, the portfolio has grown to $1,200,000. Inflation is 3%, so they adjust their withdrawal for inflation, and now they withdraw $41,200. Okay, that's the standard 4% scenario. Retiree 2 retires in 2025 with a $1,200,000 portfolio, and he immediately withdraws 4% of that portfolio, or $48,000. Now in 2025, they both have the same portfolio value. So why is it that retiree 1 can only withdraw $41,200, but retiree 2 gets to withdraw $48,000? Now, even though both retirees do have that same $1.2 million, retiree 1's withdrawal is lower because he started with a smaller portfolio, and retiree 1 adjusts for inflation, not for market performance. If retiree 1 were to reset his withdrawal to $48,000 just because the portfolio grew, he's breaking the original plan. He'd now be withdrawing more than the 4% he initially set. This increases the risk of depleting his portfolio faster, especially if the market takes a downturn in the future. Now, by continuing to stick to the plan and withdraw $41,200 from the portfolio, he's effectively now withdrawing only 3.4% instead of 4%. He's winning the game. The 4% strategy is working, and he should stick to it because now the portfolio is in even better shape to withstand any future downturns. The 4% rule is designed for stability. By resetting withdrawals every time the market hits an all-time high, you'd be taking on additional risk and gambling with your retirement funds. So there are a few problems with resetting the 4% rule. First of all, the 4% rule is not guaranteed. The 4% rule is based on historical data, specific market conditions, and it assumes a fixed withdrawal strategy over 30 years. So if you retire during a stable market, great, you got lucky. But that doesn't mean the markets will always perform the same way. In studies of US data, the 4% rule has a 4% failure rate over 30 years, meaning that there's a 96% chance it will work. But what about that 4%? And the risk of failure increases if you retire early. Hello, fire folks. Or if the market experiences poor performance early on in your retirement, something called sequence of returns risk. Sequence of returns risk is the risk that you'll face poor returns early on in retirement. The first 5 years are particularly dangerous. If the market drops right after you retire and you continue withdrawing your regular amount, your portfolio could be drained faster. Even if you stick to the 4% rule, it can fail if the market doesn't recover in time. When you retire, you're essentially hoping to be part of that 96% of the time when things work out and go smoothly. But by resetting the 4% rule every time your portfolio grows or the market reaches new highs, you're facing those dangerous first 5 years again and trying your luck again. And eventually, it might not pay off. A market decline from a high point can lock you into a higher withdrawal rate, leaving you with less money to ride out the downturn. The second problem is that sequence of returns risk is higher at market highs. Sequence of returns risk is always a factor, but it becomes more dangerous when the market is at a high. Why? Because the higher the market goes, the more likely there will be a correction or downturn. If you reset your withdrawals based on market highs, you're taking a double hit if the market drops. You've got the market loss itself, and then you've also got the permanent loss from your increased withdrawals. It's a 1-2 punch that can easily derail your retirement plan. So why push your luck? If you retired and avoided a market downturn early on, congratulations. There's no need to gamble with the future by resetting your withdrawal rate every time the market goes up. The third problem is if you're talking about changing your strategy based on market performance, you're talking about a variable withdrawal strategy, and that's not the 4% rule. Of course, it's natural to think, what if I adjust my withdrawals based on market performance? What if I spend more in good years and less in bad ones? But once you start adjusting your withdrawals based on market conditions, you're no longer following the 4% rule. The 4% rule is a fixed withdrawal strategy. You withdraw a set percentage adjusted only for inflation, no matter how the market is doing. If you change your withdrawals based on market performance, you're entering the world of variable withdrawal strategies. These are more complex and require careful management, which is definitely a topic for another time. The 4% rule's strength lies in its simplicity and long-term sustainability. If you start fluctuating your withdrawals, you're trading that simplicity for something more unpredictable. So should you never adjust your spending in retirement? I don't think so. I think flexibility is the key to a successful retirement, and there are strategies out there that allow you to adjust your spending based on market performance, but that's not the 4% rule. And I do like the 4% rule because it's a great starting point, but once you start resetting it every time your portfolio hits a new high, you're gambling with your retirement. I know it's tempting, but it can lead to disaster if the market drops. And if you've worked hard to accumulate 25 times your annual expenses so you can execute the 4% rule, there's no need to push your luck and keep rolling the dice with sequence of returns risk. Now, if you found this video helpful or interesting, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on saving, investing, and early retirement. And check out this video here, which talks all about how to calculate your FIRE number. All right, thanks for watching.